Hello, everybody. It's a beautiful day today in San Diego, and the weather's awesome. It's really beautiful. It's always bright here, even if it's winter, and it's nearly spring. And this morning I went on my usual walk, and I just walked through, and I noticed how the ocean was so blue and so beautiful. And it made me think about people that are stuck inside with the cold and the snow, and how it restricts you or it doesn't. So today we are going to talk about restrictions and breaking restrictions. So without further ado, this is Carina, BreakFear FindFreedom, and my awesome co-host, of course, is Dino. Hey, Dino.
Hello.
So what do you think about this topic for today?
Restrictions, like they stop you, show me the papers, and then you could go like that?
Restrictions anyway, or restrictions in your mind. I mean, a lot of times we create stories in our heads that restrict us, right? And meanwhile, it's nothing. There was a post, we posted something on Facebook where there was a picture, a little circle, and it says, this is the problem. And next to it, it says, this is how we made the problem. So it's, how do we restrict ourselves? By the stories we tell ourselves and by the way we make our minds drive us insane. And when really it just stops us getting what we want or speaking to the people the way we want to, because we restrict ourselves by saying, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Or we restrict ourselves in calling a client. So that's restrictions. What do you think?
All right. Okay. Nice surprise. Nice try, Carina, but it's not going to work. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go. Everybody sit back.
Okay, let's go.
And enjoy the show. Okay. So two things that I got out of what you said. The first one is really, really important. Isolation. Okay. That's one that I'd like to talk about, but let's table that for a second and let's talk about your restrictions. I think you're talking about self-imposed narratives in your head, false narratives, let's say,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Where you believe with every ounce of your being that this will be the outcome, or this is how this person is, or, this is the way it is. So why even try, fighting it like that? Is that what we're talking about? Because this is good. This is good. I'm going to use a great example. I know we were talking about it off the show, but I decided yesterday to buy a house. Hey, and it was
hey, congratulations! That sounds so exciting. Okay, carry on.
It is exciting. It is exciting because this, little town, and then I'm just like, you know what? This house is. It was the first one that I looked at, and I'm just like, I'm staying here. I'm making roots here. This is great. Life is great, and I'm going to look for a house that I like. And by the way, this is the first time in 30 years that I've picked out my own house. Actually went in and looked at it myself. Participated only with myself in making the decision, and I didn't have to please anybody else. How cool is that?
Beautiful.
This is like I'm 20 years. I should be doing this stuff in my 20s, right? I'm in my 50s, going on 60, and going on 35. No, 20.
You're going on 20. Okay. Well,
yeah. Listen, 60 is the new 20. That came from me. Write that down. It always fascinates me when you have real estate agents that show you properties, right? And they'll tell you what they believe the house is worth and what they believe that the seller is going to respond to. And, you shouldn't give them that number because I don't think, whatever. I just walk in and I'm just like, you know what? Here's the belief in my system, and we've talked about this a lot. They're people just like me. Yes, they're eager to sell their property, right? They're motivated by a return on their investment. Who isn't? But at the end of the day, they're people, right? With circumstances and needs. And, maybe they need that money for retirement. Maybe they need that money to pay bills. Who knows, right? But this thing where, if I put the house on the market for 100,000, and if I offer them 90, oh no, they won't take that. How do you know? It's worth a try, as long as it's a fair, realistic counter. I mean, you're not going to offer 50 on 100. I mean, it's not a foreclosed thing. But anyway, I've never listened to real estate agent speculation or beliefs, not because I don't put merit in what they say. It's just that understand that their job at the end of the day is to make a sale and to make commission. And now we talk about this a lot. Yes, I make commission. Yes, I make 3% or 6% or 7% commission, whatever you make. God bless you. And I love all of you salespeople. Believe me, I want you to make money. But the difference between a $100,000 offer and a $90,000 offer, it's like $600. What do you care? Stop standing in my way. Let me do my thing. That's what I do. So anyway, I made an offer that I thought was fair, contrary to what the agent said and their belief on it. It was immediately accepted. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. I already knew it was going to happen. But, the house is gorgeous and it's on a golf course. And no, I don't play golf, but I like that mystique of just being on I don't know. It's just me. I'm crazy. But, okay. So let me get to the point. The house was perfectly furnished, perfectly, almost staged, but they actually live in this house. You can't find one wrinkle on the bedspread. You can't find one speck of dust or a scrape or a scuff anywhere in this house. It's just amazing. And so for me, I'm like, why would I want to ruin this beautiful decor? I want to buy their furniture, right? So let me go in and make a deal on the furniture. Oh, you shouldn't do that, because they're moving and they're going to take all that stuff. You should just plan on, getting more furniture. I'm like, can you please just ask them? So she asked, and turns out, what do you know? They're like, yeah, they'd love to talk to you about the furniture. I'm like, okay, perfect. When can we schedule an appointment? She's like, well, you could go on your own because I have a house to show and it's on the other side of town. I prefer that anyway. So it was perfect for me. So this is a shameless, it's not a plug for my book, but you'll understand. So I took a copy of my book and I signed it with silver Sharpie. And I said, thank you, Dino Miliotis. I signed it. And I went to the house. And so I ring the doorbell, never met these people before. And wouldn't you know it, they're a beautiful couple that are relocating to your neck of the woods, actually, Carina, to San Diego, the suburbs surrounding San Diego. And, very, very nice people. So the wife, by the way, is 100% Sicilian. And the husband is 100% Scottish. What a mix.
Gee, what a mix. Lots of fire there.
Total mix. So it was really cool. So what turned into, like, I was going there to look at the furniture that I wanted, and I was going to make an offer and leave, turned into a 3-hour sit-down chat over coffee. And they're showing me every little thing in this house, how it works. They're saving packets of stuff for me. They, gave me cookies to dunk in my coffee. And we're just chatting away, and it's great. And so here it comes, right? So they all of a sudden changed the subject, and they're like, we looked you up. We read about you after you made the offer. And I understand that you went through addiction. And I said, yes, I did. And, I'm very public about it because, this is how I help people. I'm inspiring people. And they're like, well, we have a son that's fallen on hard times. And, he's been battling alcohol and he's not doing very well, but he refuses to go to treatment. He refuses to go to AA because he's like, why do I want to sit around with people in AA? All they do is talk about their problems, or I'm feeling like I have to have a drink, that kind of stuff. So that's what he thinks AA is. Now, I'm not I don't do the AA thing myself personally. I'm not saying don't do it, but it is a tool in the toolbox of all things recovery. Okay. But so he's a very, very charismatic guy. He has a good aura. They were explaining that he's a go-getter and he's really fascinated with the entrepreneurs of this world and business and all that. But he's just being slowed down by this addiction. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I'd be happy to talk to them. So the wife started crying. You would do that for us? Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh my God. God bless you. Yeah. And so I gave them my cell number and I received his. And I said, instead of me calling and pushing, they're actually seeing him today. And they're bringing the book. And they're going to talk to him and they're going to say, hey, look, this guy's just like you. He went through something just like you. And he beat it or controlled it. Right. And he moved on with his life. And, I'm looking forward to that conversation. I really, truly am. And this just goes to show you, right? If I was afraid to see these owners by myself, I never would have had this opportunity to inspire, right? And get something out of it in return. It's a two-way street. If I believed that these people needed all of their sales price money to allow the house to be sold, I never would have been the owner of this house. You see?
Yes. Yes.
And if I walked in all nervous on, they read about me, I'm ashamed, I would have never had this pleasant experience, right? And that, Carina, is the reason why I don't like pre-rehearsed meetings and I don't like pre-rehearsed podcasts. And some people won't have me on the podcast because they think I'm hard to work with. And hey, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But the podcasts that I do go on, I don't want to know the subject. I think it's most authentic. And you'll get the most out of what I'm thinking if you don't put blinders on me and be like, this is what we're talking about today. And so, so to the first point of what you're doing, bringing it back on home, I'm tying it up now. I think that people need to let go of preconceived notions and this false narrative in their head. If people like cheesy slogans of sales things, all those in sales or who were in sales, even entrepreneurs, you probably heard a bumblebee doesn't know it's too big for its wings are too small for it to fly. I hate cheesy sales things. But this one's right. This one's right. The bumblebee doesn't know. If it knew, it'd be like, well, hey, wait a minute, my wings are too short. I'm not supposed to be flying. Well, then you'd never fly. But it doesn't know. So that's kind of how I look at what you were saying.
Yes, I love
your
that.
thoughts.
My thoughts. I love the synchronicities. And it's so interesting now how everything works together. You saw this beautiful house, perfect, like just what you want in the area you wanted, with people that are beautiful people, and you need to work with them. So there'll still be that link because you'll probably be working with the son. So it's interesting how you attract all these things into your life, just because because that's how it is, right? Because of who you are. And the confidence as well makes a big difference. And I think it's the confidence that breaks the restrictions, because if you, again, we've spoken about this so many times, if you walk around feeling and looking down and feeling so sorry for yourself. The world gives you that back, right? And as
Yeah.
you said, if you would have walked into that house going like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, they would have gone like, no.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so we have to work on that all the time to make sure that we keep ourselves up and positive and confident, right? So that we can break through our own restrictions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it also falls into inadequacies. Like me today, I know it's confidence, right? But it's a little more for me today. It's a little more than confidence. It's also wisdom because of all the things that I've experienced. So it's a little more confidence. Here's the secret for all you out there. Um, I acted confident in my early days, even when I wasn't. I acted wealthy even when I wasn't yet wealthy. It's that mindset and that belief that you have to start thinking that way before you become that way. And then everything happens. Now,
Yes, yes.
some people, you may hear this line, never let them see you sweat. Well, what does that mean? That means no matter what, you're going to act confident, you're going to act sure, you're going to act, stoic and like where you're going, what you're doing, even when deep down inside you're unsure. Now, some people say, well, is that acting? No, it's belief. First you got to believe something before it happens. And so during the low points of my life, and when I didn't have money and when they were shutting off the power to my house because I didn't pay my bill, yeah, it was devastating at the time. It was annoying. It was frustrating. It made me angry. It did all kinds of things to me. But at the same time, I knew I had to get to a meeting. I finished shaving by candlelight because I didn't have any power. And then I get in my
remember
car.
reading that in your book. So by the way, Dino's details at the bottom of his book. Okay. There's no box. It's in the show notes. Okay.
Why do you keep plugging my book?
Because it came up.
No, but yeah, it is in the book. But I finished shaving by candlelight, and then I rushed to my car, and I started, and I see that the tank is bone dry. It's got no fuel in it. I have no money. I open up my wallet. It doesn't even have $1 in it, right? So I get out of the car. I rush upstairs, tripping over the stairs. I go to my stepson's bedroom, and it's there where they had that big Coca-Cola piggy bank bottle. I don't know if they have them now, but anyways, a huge bottle. And so for every birthday or Christmas or whatever, we would throw change. We would throw dollars. We would throw $20. The whole family did. So I knew there was money in there, but you can't break that damn piggy bank. I mean, obviously everybody's going to know.
Yes.
And it only had a slit at the top. It didn't have a bottom outlet. You have to break it. So I unraveled a coat hanger, and I kind of made a hook out of it, and I shoved it in the top, fished out money. I felt horrible, but I fished out money in order to be able to put enough in my tank to drive. This was in a Chicago suburb, to drive 40 minutes to get downtown for my meeting. And in this meeting, it was very important, right? By the time I get to the meeting, no matter what was happening in my personal life, no matter what I thought of myself because I ripped off my kid's money from his piggy bank, you feel like zero when that happens. No matter how frustrated I was that all the food in the refrigerator is going to spoil, and whoever comes home before I get back is going to notice that the power's off and I feel like a failure. When I hit that meeting, I turned on that charm and I turned on the confidence, and you would have never known that I was broke. Okay. So that was confidence before the real confidence. So let's make no mistake about it. You gotta feel the way, you gotta feel the part first, and then it comes to you naturally. So fast forward to today, I will tell you that making an offer on a house, meeting people sight unseen, making a decision on the fly, all obviously outwardly are very confident actions, but it's because of the wisdom and the experience that allows me to say that today. So give it time. It happens. It's a magical thing. Everything in your head that tells you I can't do this is a lie. Okay?
Yes.
It's a complete lie.
Yes.
And you have to believe it. Even if you have to trick yourself, you have to believe it.
But it's also a process. So you've got to keep listening to yourself and keep changing those thoughts and those voices in your head.
Yeah.
And yes, it takes time, right? And sometimes you can't be confident all the time, though. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. So how do you get into that mode when you're in a meeting? So because a lot of people, they're feeling down, so they take the downness into the meeting, right? Which is not the way to do it. So how do you flip the switch? How do you flip the switch?
How do you so if you're not mentally prepared, or if you're not in the mood, but it's showtime, is that what you're asking?
Right. Yes.
What I used to do is I would kind of immediately, offensively break the ice. And the way to do that is simply, so-and-so said that you were coming today, and I just want to tell you that contrary to what he has told me about you, I'm very happy to meet you. And then there's a chuckle in the room. And next thing you know, you've kind of broken the ice. There's a different exchange. And then you can always take it and go back to business. Okay, seriously. All right, we're here today to talk about this. You see? But it's disarming. It's more for you than the crowd. Look, everybody's going to have those times where you're not sure of yourself and you're not confident, me included. Everybody goes through that. I think the difference is that when you get to a point where you've done it enough times, you know how to trick your brain out of that default system, going back to I can't do this, right? Which is really, I mean, think about it. I had to go back to the West Coast to drive my second car back, right? And that was a horrible ordeal. And you dread doing it, but you have to do it, and you have to close the page and open up a new chapter in your life, which I have. But I know myself very, very well. And if I didn't take certain measures to trick myself, I'd keep postponing that trip for as long as I could until the summer months, where I don't go through these snowstorms and everything like that. So how did I do that? The day I identified that I had to go bring the second car back, I booked my flight. Not only did I book my flight, but I also set an appointment the very next day that I would arrive with somebody that I had to meet, so I could pick up the rest of my belongings and meet the auctioneer. So now I can't back out. You see what I mean? Yes. And now, so all of a sudden, I've changed my mindset from one of procrastination to I have to make this. I've never missed a meeting. I've never, been late to a meeting, and I don't care how I looked. I don't care how I felt. I've always been there. So the thing for me is, if you make a commitment, you got to keep it. How do you keep it? Well, you put it in your calendar. What if you don't feel like it that day and you had the choice to reschedule? Well, to prevent that, trick yourself, box yourself into a corner where you have to do what you promised. And so that's what I mean. This isn't like, I'm confident all the time and everything I touch turns to gold. I have reservations about things a lot. I have doubts in my head a lot. All the people much greater than me. I'm nothing. I'm just a regular guy. Okay. What I'm saying is, if I could do it, I know they're doing it. I know that the audience can do it too. I know everybody can do it. It's just that you got to try it out. You got to trust that this works. Now, I don't guarantee things at all, but this one I will guarantee. If you play the part and feel the part, you'll become the part. I promise you that.
I love that. What I want to do is go back to your story of boxing yourself in. I think it's a lot of times we lie to ourselves, right? So we'll say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to do this, and then don't do it, like you were saying, because we give ourselves an opportunity to not do it. And what happens is then we start feeling bad, right? And then we're lying to ourselves, and that messes with our confidence. So I like the idea where you say you boxed yourself in, where you've got no choice. You've got to do this. And eventually you get to a point where you don't have to, but certain things you've got to do, depending what you're doing, certain things that are really horrible to do, and you've got to do them, it's good to box yourself in. So I like that concept. I can see it. And it goes contrary to what we were talking about restrictions, but at this moment, it's probably a good thing to do.
I mean, those are the restrictions in that sense is a good thing, right? I mean, but you know yourself better than any other human being, and the more you become self-aware, the more you do deep dives into your own self, the better you know yourself, right? A lot of people don't know themselves the way they should. Okay. And the only way to do that, I mean, obviously there's professional care, which I strongly recommend to people. I mean, let's face it, I'm not going to say don't go, but at the same time, your biggest supporter, your biggest advocate, your best counselor is you, for you. And so, don't underestimate the power of daydreaming. Don't underestimate the power of deep dives into yourself to become aware of not only your faults, but your strengths. And we've talked about this on the show too. Everybody just immediately goes to the default mechanism of negative. Everybody's default mechanism is lazy. I'm lazy by nature. Everybody, I think, given the choice, is lazy by nature. Then how do they do things? How do they accomplish things? There's just something that you got to push yourself out of that rut. It takes split seconds. It could take minutes. It could take hours, but you do it. And then once you start doing it, what you'll find is it's just a very pleasant experience, right? I mean, I didn't plan my day yesterday to go as it did, but you make adjustments in your schedule, and you just go into the great unknown. So what can I say about the place that I picked, which will explain how I boxed myself into commitment? This place is awesome. It's a little bit further than where my family is by about 8 minutes exactly. I timed it.
Okay.
But at the same time, but look at the upside, right? I have fast cars, so the ride's enjoyable. So knock that thing out. The second thing is that this place, aside from the beautiful house and that's on a golf course, also has its own restaurants. It has its own shopping centers, and it also has its own clubhouse with a restaurant that you could go into, and the house comes with full use of their huge wellness facility and their gym and a saltwater pool, right? So this is a private community. It's a gated community. It's about, I'd say 2 square miles long. It's huge, but it's a gated community. So you think, well, at first I'm isolated, whatever, but then you're thinking 2 square miles of people, and they're working out at a place, they're eating, they're golfing, they're swimming, So this is a whole new world for me, right? And I still have my family, and I still have my friends, the new friends that I've made here. I think that's awesome. So I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zones. Well, I better stay in the area because I don't know what else is out there. Well, I better stay on this road because I really don't know the directions. And I'm just like, learn. Even the social media, half our shows have been me bashing social media. I'm starting to love it. Full confession. It's not addictive, so don't think it's addictive, but I'm starting to.
It is addictive.
Well, it can be. Yeah, it can be. You're right. But I mean, if you understand it's just another tool to socialize, then you'll understand how people socialize now, right? And very interesting, you find that some people just and they do this, they'll gloss over things. They'll just like whatever the picture looks good or whatever draws your eye. I read the stuff. I read the story, which I call little nuggets that most people probably don't read. And contrary to what you think when you see a post, if you actually read what they're saying, it may be completely opposite of what you think just by limiting yourself and just looking at the post. So again, what you think may not always be reality. And you gotta, your brain's always going to default to the negatives. I don't know why we're all wired like that, but we are. And what our job is just to keep resetting, keep rebooting that default mechanism to be on positive instead of always defaulting to negative. There is no cruise control for entrepreneurs or your mind. You can't set it on cruise control and say, well, now I arrived, so I don't have to worry about anything. This is a daily thing, a minute by minute, second by second thing, but it comes very naturally, right?
Yes, and I have to go back to social media because our first episode, you were bashing. It's like, Reese, what is this? What's this like? What's this? Whatever. And you were bashing it, and I was going, okay, cool. So again, we see how you changed your restrictions and how you've grown from there to here to now coming, whoa, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm meeting all these people, and I'm interacting, and you're growing your presence. And it's really beautiful to see the transformation over a few months and how you got out of your restriction. Because those first few episodes, you were so you were so stuck in your little box. Sorry, you were so stuck
right.
And now when you just broke that, and you've entered the unknown, and you've gone into a whole new world. So
right. I mean, I completely agree, because here's the thing. I didn't like it because I didn't understand it. Now, it's not like my first choice to spread the word, but I understand here's the part. I'm making myself understand that it's only a small part of interaction. When you start thinking it's the way to interact, God help us all, because I'm always going to be a 100% proponent for face-to-face human interaction. You cannot replace that. I don't care what anybody tells me. It's their opinion. Mine is that's the number one way, always will be that way. But you got to understand, I've been taken care of with things like that for 30 years, okay? And then when you get spit out as a single person again, on your own, clean and sober, it's an entirely different, planet, not just country, planet. And everything seems new, and so you have to relearn everything. Social media was one of the things that I dread. How do you do this? How do you, but then I just sat back and I'm just like, if so many people are on this thing, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so, to be honest with you, where it changed for me, the social thing is this is great. It changed when I stopped using social to promote my book, and when I began to reconnect with my community and my roots, my Greek roots. Now, everybody who saw the episode with me and my brother when we were on Miliotis Boys Unplugged.
It's going to, yes, we'll put a link in the description box as well for that.
Yeah. We have so many views on that. So I know that was a home run show. And so here's the thing. I mean, what we were talking about, where the way we grew up and the Greek community, the way it is. And my dad was truly like one of the ambassadors of goodwill for Greeks. I mean, everybody knows him. There's actually some viewers of our show that remember my father, that her children had my father as their teacher, who remember me as a little boy, and stuff like that. So,
Wow.
so I mean, his reach was far and wide, right? But for me, when I was young and I was in the Greek school, every parent wanted to marry me off with their daughter. It's just that way. Oh, he's a good boy. He's a Greek boy. Oh, so I shunned that away. I didn't want that. Then later on in life, my greatest love was business, and I, it's the price you pay for the life you choose, I guess. But I was completely focused on business. So you shun the Greek community away, because I don't want people coming out of the woodwork just because I'm doing something and I'll say, hey, you're Greek, I'm Greek, you got to help me. These are false narratives in my head, but that's what kept me away. Fast forward to today, literally months, I'm re-embracing my roots. I'm taking my head out of the sand, and I'm reconnecting with a lot of people. Not everybody's going to want to reconnect with me. And I get it, and that's fine. But the ones that have already have shown incredible love and support. And it's a sense of community, you know what I mean? And so what I've started doing in the social platforms is just forget the book, forget the message, forget the cheesy, look what I was in, look what that was in. Just send messages that make you feel good, inspire, offer hope, or even give you a little chuckle. And all of a sudden, when I started focusing on just that my goal, just like sitting in a meeting, and my goal was just to have a good meal, and whatever happens, happens. It's the same philosophy with the social platforms. When I started doing that, it was a whole new dynamic. And even on the shallow social platforms that I call them, you just see that people start trusting you more. You're not a salesman. You're authentic, and you're genuine, and you're not plugging anything specific. You're plugging a better way of life, you see? And people love that. I love that, And so that's the difference, Carina. And again, all this is happening right in front of our eyes. So it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. And now I have to also mention about the podcast. I know we've said this before, but that's probably what's the drawing card with this podcast, is that we never script anything. It's just a good conversation,
right
from the beginning. So this, and it's not edited either. There's just the intro and the outro is added. It's never edited either. So this is the way it is, and I think that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, it is fun, except for I'm going to tell them. So the only podcast that was that went off the deep end was one that you'll never see, but we're actually doing a podcast cold, and we start off as we did every other time, and then all of a sudden the power grid went out in our area, and it just shut down communication. And so that show hit the cutting room floor. But other than that, everyone that we've done is from start to finish. Let's roll. Let's just go with it.
Yes.
And and I think the thing is we always cover and touch on topics. Obviously, you know, we'll touch on same topics from other segments, but you typically never run out of things to say. And you know, I will say that I don't know about any other podcast, but I just think that it's something that should be entertaining, something that should send a message, but most importantly, something that hopefully when you finish it, you feel good. Like I saw one comment from somebody that said, "Oh, I love watching these." You know, that's a huge compliment. That's a huge compliment. And you know, I mean, for somebody to love watching, it means like just like your intro, sit back, grab your cup of coffee or your running shoes or whatever, and sit back and enjoy. That's what you say, right? And so that's kind of cool. So enough patting ourselves on the back. I hope I answered your question, at least my take on this false narrative that you believe with no proof whatsoever, but you just believe it for whatever the reasons, as if it were real.
Yes.
Right. And the way to break out of that is just test your theory, just like any good scientist would or any good physicist would. Test your theory. If you're so sure that this will happen, that that's the outcome, test it one day. You may be wrong.
Yes. So that's a good challenge.
Yeah.
Test it. And so I'm just going to go back because we've also mentioned this a lot of times. Many times it works on self-love again, because the more you start knowing yourself, the more you start doing the internal work, the more you realize that, hey, you know what, you're a part of nature, and you're not, no one's perfect, but you're not imperfect, right? And you start learning about yourself and you start loving yourself for who you are. Then that also gets easier, because then you can break those chains within your head, because you can see yourself as a beautiful person.
Yeah.
So that's also very important.
Yeah, where it's not an act. I mean, you have to be authentic, and you have to just accept that you're how you are. You know what I mean? Don't change to impress your audience. You know, I mean, as an example, somebody will come into a group and they're new. The group happens to like use 4-letter words every other word. And then this new person starts doing the same thing. Well, that's not how they are in a different setting, but they continue to do that just because they want to fit in. I'm not the moral police where, whoa, you shouldn't swear. I swear, but not every other word, and certainly not to impress a crowd. You see what I mean? And by the same token, if I say, you know, no SHIT to somebody that says something surprising to me, and they're like, "Oh, that's offensive." Nobody's ever told me that. Okay. But that's not an act. I mean, it's just the way I talk. So be yourself, I think, is really, really important.
Yes.
And just keep exploring.
Yes. And I think you have to be, wherever you are, you've got to be who you are, right? So if this is me, whether I'm here talking to you, or whether I'm outside talking to someone else, or whether I'm walking down the street or on the beach or working or whatever, this is me.
Yeah.
You know, that is the way it is. And not everyone can like you. So some people may like me, some people may hate me. Oh, well. And I think it has to get to that point where you can say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter really. If
right.
Because billions of people can't like you, how boring would that be? And it would be quite scary too, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's overwhelming for a lot of people because there's more needs, there's more requests, there's more wants, there's more expectations, and you could just drive yourself mad. You know, just worrying about all that. at the end of the day, you are who you are. You can guide people, you can inspire people, you can motivate people, but you can't do things for people. You cannot make them do something that they're not willing to do, and you can't do it for them either. That's not fair. So as long as you remember that, this is a constant daily thing that I think everybody goes through. It's just we talk about it because we analyze it all. Now, in the beginning of the show, I touched on isolation, and I'm not going to really spend a lot of time. I think we're running out of time, but isolation is really, really destructive. Where you think that, and I used to think that you can barricade yourself in a house and call it utopia with a gated community, and you have everything you need in the house, so you don't need to go out. You know what? I was wrong, because I did that, and I drove myself insane. I mean, I became so sad. It's like a plant that somebody forgot to water. I mean, it just started withering away slowly. And you don't notice it because it's not an immediate thing, but the attitude, my attitude, was declining slowly every single day, to the point where it was on one of these shows where I just like had an anxiety. I had a panic attack. I had a freak out, legitimate freak out. And, there's a lot of reasons for it, but I will say the number one cause for anxiety and sadness and depression, in my opinion, is isolation. And I will tell you that I'm living proof that I broke that idea that isolation's good. And even when you don't want to socialize, I force myself to socialize, not that it's a chore. But you'll find that you have the most enjoyable conversations with different people. And for me, it's like a plant receiving water every time you go and talk to somebody. You're healthier, you feel better, you have a different experience that you've been able to witness and share. And I know this is like kindergarten stuff to a lot of people. Now go out and make sure you get your exercise. I'm not preaching like that. I'm just telling you that sometimes even the best of us are surprised by the devastating effects of a choice like isolation. It was my choice to be isolated. I thought that would be a good thing. Why do I want to get conned by all these people? Why do I want to get tugs of people needing me and trying to trick me? Why do I want to talk to people that don't like me? I'm just going to create my own community, my own utopia, and I'm fine. Guess again, you can have everything you want in one place, and you may think you have the world at your feet. Guess again. So for everybody out there that's isolated, my strong recommendation is to just go out there, get out of your comfort zone, start interacting. It is fuel for life. And I'm not kidding. All right, that's the only thing I'm going to preach about.
Well, it's a good thing to preach about, because if you isolate, you probably found it affected your confidence. It makes you very fearful, because the more you isolate, the more you fear to go out, actually.
Right.
So the more you go out and interact, the more confidence you get. And now imagine if you hadn't gone out to speak to those people for your furniture. We're going back to your house, right? To the people at the house, the people whose house you bought, and you didn't go because you wanted to isolate. You didn't want to. You were afraid to go and speak to them. You wouldn't have had the opportunity to help the son. And who knows, you might save a life. So you don't realize that it's actually quite selfish to isolate. Because if you isolate, you don't allow yourself to go out, and you don't have the opportunity to perhaps help someone else, because sometimes a smile, someone, just a smile can change someone's life. Can, you know, you hear the stories of someone smiled at someone and they didn't jump off the bridge. And I know that's dramatic.
Yeah.
But you have to consider that as well, because now if you had remained isolated, we wouldn't have had these conversations, and you wouldn't have gone out and started all these projects and made such an impact in the community and online and wherever. So I think that's my take on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. I mean, and we haven't even talked about it, but the stuff that's going on with the foundation, the alignments, the partnerships that I'm currently working on, when they are concrete, I'm going to, obviously we're going to do it on the podcast, and you're just going to see just an amazing growth from the embryo and where we are now, which is just huge. So this Higher Calling Foundation is just unbelievably rewarding. Just a point, when you said, yeah, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't have interacted with these people, so you wouldn't be able to talk to the sun and possibly save a life. That's true. But selfishly, let's think about what it did for me. Okay. It gave me a wonderful 3-hour conversation with people that I've never met before. And we shared a lot of commonalities and we had fun and I felt good. The compliment of getting noticed, and they read about me, looked me up. I mean, I didn't bring in a business card. I didn't tell them, hey, do you know who I am? I mean, they figured it out themselves. And the ability to help their son, right? Which is also to me, right? Just not one-sided. And that's why I always say a single touch can change the world, because it can. When you're touching somebody's life and changing it for the better, it's refueling you. So you become better. You become energized. And so that's why isolation doesn't work. Who are you going to touch? An outlet? You know, the artificial intelligence? Are you going to talk to a robot? Are you going to go online and have these 3D things and you're going to have a virtual world? The world is not virtual. The world is still real. Okay? We're still on this planet. Make it count.
Yes. 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 Make it count. I like that. So one other thing before we go, I just want to add, you posted something today about living your life before you die. And it made me think about how many people actually are dead and they're waiting to die. So they just go through the motions of life, right? They get up at the same time every morning. They put on the same clothes. They eat the same breakfast.
You're talking about my post? You're talking about my post?
Your post, yes, yes.
My post.
Morning, yes.
It was before you die, make sure you live.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is a lot of people die already dead, you know? So
The Walking
they
Dead.
just go through the motions. They're like the Walking Dead. Sorry. So they're like the Walking Dead. And that as well is a great restriction. So do something different, because that's dying. So what do you, okay. So I think that's my take.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, I think we've spoken for an hour. It was pretty cool. We probably could speak for more, but we'll end it.
No,
here.
that was awesome. That was awesome. And again, a very powerful message. So today, what we covered the pitfalls of isolation. And what we covered was the false narrative or the false belief that we put in our heads of why things can't work. Replace the word can't with can. Test the theory out. I promise you it'll work. Whatever you think won't work, test it out. And if it works, there goes your theory. This is Break Fear, Find Freedom. Hosts Carina and Dino, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. And remember, there is a Dino running around. So just tell us that you've seen him so we can start a conversation. He's really cool. And we have to have a shout out to Sierra Marin for the music. That's her own music. She's out of here from San Diego.
Cool.
And of course, Stone Horror Production for the edit. And Stone Horror Production is starting to do a few little movies. So check out the videos. What a very strange sense of humor. So check it out. It'll make you laugh. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Dino, for another awesome show. And we'll see
Welcome.
you soon.
See you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.